Trump has just announced a sweeping new tariff on cars.
This is very modest. And what we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff.
And today I'm announcing that the Government of Canada will be responding by matching the U.S. approach, with 25% tariffs on all vehicles imported from the United States.
Imagine if the quietest kid in class suddenly flipped the entire school upside down, without making a sound. That's what Canada just did to the global economy. While everyone was focused on China, Canada made a move that sent shockwaves through the North American auto industry in just one day. Tesla? Stranded. Ford? Stalled. America's big dreams of clean energy and economic comeback? Derailed by a neighbor we thought was our friend. This isn't just news, it's a wake-up call. With one signature in Ottawa, Canada started a chain reaction. How did Tesla end up as the first victim? Why is Japan now building cars for America? And could this be more than a trade spat? Could it be the beginning of the end for U.S. industrial strength? Want the full scoop on tech? And what's next? Hit that subscribe button to stay in the know. What's going on? Tesla's always been a high-wire act, dazzling with big ideas but teetering on the edge of chaos. Its success depends on everything clicking. Parts showing up right on time, materials flowing from global suppliers, and logistics running like a well-oiled machine. But that machine just broke down. In just 3 days, Canada's new mineral restrictions sent Tesla's world into a tailspin. Its massive battery factories in Nevada and Texas were hit hard. Why? Canada, a key supplier, slammed the brakes on nickel shipments for checks. Lithium exports crawled under new rules. Aluminum partners up north warned of delays and higher costs. It doesn't matter if this is temporary. Tesla wasn't built for pauses. Suppliers jacked up prices overnight. Tesla's teams scrambled to find new sources in places like Australia, South America, or even China. Yep, the one they've been trying to rely on less. But switching suppliers isn't like flipping a switch. It's a messy, slow process. Tesla's supply chain, like a fragile ecosystem, started to crumble. Investors panicked. Stock analysts slashed their forecasts. The financial world buzzed with questions. Is this the end of Tesla's reign? Even Elon Musk's fiery social media rants couldn't stop the slide. Why? Because this isn't just about bad vibes, it's about production. Deliveries are slipping. Battery production is lagging. Assembly lines are slowing. Tesla's promise of game-changing tech on tap is cracking without the minerals it needs. And the worst part? The real trouble is still brewing at the border. The border turned into a weapon. Zero locking trade. It was about paperwork. Canada didn't break any trade rules. They just started playing hardball with the ones already in place. Auto parts that used to zip across the border in hours, now they're stuck in random inspections. Truckers hauling goods? Parked for 12 to 24 hours waiting for clearance. Ports in Ontario and British Columbia quietly shuffled their priorities. Trains sat idle with no explanation. Every form and document was suddenly checked with a magnifying glass. To the world, it looked like Canada was just doing its job. But for companies like Tesla, Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis, it was chaos. The message was loud and clear. The rules had changed. Parts started showing up late, or not at all. Assembly lines ground to a halt. Service centers ran out of spares. Electric vehicles that were supposed to hit showrooms in April? Now they're delayed until July. Tesla's mess sent shockwaves globally. Canada wasn't just fighting back. They were surgically taking apart one of the world's most advanced industrial systems, all without breaking a single law. China took notes. Japan paid attention. Germany sent analysts to study the playbook. This wasn't just a trade tiff. It was a masterclass in quiet, legal retaliation. And every car dealership in America is feeling the sting. The electric vehicle war kicks off. Buckle up. Canada just dropped a bombshell that's shaking the electric vehicle, EV, world to its core. The new Democratic Party, riding a wave of national pride, pushed through a game-changing law, a 100% tariff on all Tesla vehicles imported into Canada, effective right now. But they didn't stop there. They also rolled out a massive $10,000 subsidy for any EV built entirely in Canada. Together, these moves didn't just block Tesla, they replaced it. Ford, already making EVs in Ontario, saw orders skyrocket. General Motors, with battery plants up north, became Canada's new favorite. Even Volkswagen jumped in, fast-tracking its Ontario battery factory. Tesla, it's now an outcast, priced out of Canada's market, cut off from subsidies, and starved of the minerals it needs. This isn't just a new rule, it's war. Not with guns or tariffs, but with green nationalism. Canada's using the language of climate change as a weapon to boost its own industries and flex its power. Saving the planet? That's secondary. This is about building Canada's economy, strengthening its grip, and sidelining anyone, like Tesla, who tries to lead without playing ball. EVs aren't just about going green anymore. They're about local jobs, national pride, and punishing outsiders. Tesla, once the poster child of the Green Revolution, is now on the outside looking in. And Mark Carney? He's just getting started. While Tesla scrambles and the U.S. reels, he's quietly reshaping North America's future, one deal at a time. Carney's master plan Mark Carney isn't your average leader. Before becoming Canada's Prime Minister, he ran two of the world's biggest central banks, the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England. He's not a loud politician, he's a chess master. And in the middle of America's trade war chaos, Carney isn't just reacting, he's calling the shots. While Trump swings wildly with bold speeches and heavy-handed tariffs, Carney plays it cool, smart, and precise. At a global trade meeting in Seoul, he doesn't yell or point fingers. Instead, he pitches Canada as the calm, reliable player, committed to fair trade, climate goals, and playing by the rules. The world listens, and they're impressed. Asia jumps in first. Japanese and South Korean carmakers, fed up with U.S. tariffs, start teaming up with Canada. In Europe, Carney's steady vibe stands out against Trump's chaos, and French and German leaders line up to work with him. Even Brazil and Chile in Latin America start cutting deals with Canada for minerals and green tech. Canada's not acting like a sidekick anymore. It's stepping up as a global powerhouse. The media's calling it the Carney Doctrine, a slick blend of green values, fair trade, and economic muscle. While Trump tweets, Carney builds alliances. The result? America's not just losing ground, it's being reshaped. Canada's no longer the little brother. It's writing the rules, and Carney's not doing it alone. North America. Without the U.S., the sneakiest moves are the quiet ones. While the U.S. is distracted by its own drama and trade fights, Canada and Mexico are redrawing the economic map, and America's not invited. Behind closed doors, they're not just talking, they're building. Battery factories are popping up in Ontario and Quebec. New EV parts hubs are springing up in Mexico's Nuevo León and Jalisco. Japanese and Korean companies aren't waiting for the U.S. to get its act together. They're pouring billions into a new trade corridor that links Canada and Mexico, completely bypassing the U.S. shipping routes are shifting. Customs rules are getting smoother. There's even talk of a tax credit system to reward parts made in this new Canada-Mexico bloc. Ford's Canadian factories are growing. Hyundai's operations in Mexico are doubling. But in Ohio and Michigan, factories are gathering dust. This isn't about punishing the U.S. It's about replacing it. American car makers, once the heart of North America's auto industry, are now on the sidelines. They're not forgotten by mistake. They're being left out on purpose. And then, Europe chose a side. Europe ditches American cars. Once upon a time, Europe looked to America with admiration. Made in America wasn't just a tag. It stood for strength, innovation, and teamwork. But after years of tariffs, strikes, and political flip-flopping, that shine has faded. Europe's not mad. It's just done. Instead of fighting back, Europe's playing smarter. While Washington rolls the dice on risky economic moves, Brussels is thinking long-term. Germany scraps plans for a Volkswagen factory in Georgia and builds it in the Netherlands. Closer to home, safer bet. Renault drops U.S. suppliers and signs deals with South Korea. The U.K. even considers cutting U.S.-made electric vehicles from its green subsidies, not out of anger, but because it makes sense. America's not just unreliable now, it's irrelevant in Europe's big decisions. A European trade official put it plainly. We've moved on from depending on countries stuck in their own drama. The market shows it. Ford's losing steam. GM's European comeback is fizzling. Even Tesla, once Europe's darling, sees its ads disappear in Germany and France. It's not a boycott. It's just that Europe's bored. Hyundai, Toyota, and even Chinese car makers are stepping in, slick and steady, filling the gap America left behind. This isn't a breakup. It's Europe growing up. They're not tearing down bridges. They're building new ones, far away from a partner that's become unpredictable. A new order is quietly taking shape in the space America used to own. And it's not going away. China seizes the moment. While America picks fights with allies and leaves its industries hanging, China spots a golden opportunity. And they're not tiptoeing in. They're charging. First, they strike a quiet deal. Chinese battery giant CATL locks in long-term access to lithium and cobalt from a Quebec mining company. Then comes the big play. BYD, China's red-hot EV brand, announces a massive factory in Monterrey, Mexico. Weeks later, NIO jumps in, teaming up with Canadian suppliers to make battery parts and aluminum casings. These aren't baby steps. They're bold moves on the global chessboard. Here's the kicker. Chinese companies are building inside North America to game the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade deal. EVs made in Mexico or Canada get lower tariffs when sold in the U.S., even if the parts come from China. China didn't fight American manufacturing, they outsmarted it. Ford and GM can't keep up with China's streamlined production. Tesla's now battling competitors on its home turf, but with a shaky supply chain and no subsidies to lean on. BYD rolls out a $28,000 EV in Mexico City, with whispers of U.S. showrooms next. NIO's hiring engineers in Toronto, promising global impact. Meanwhile, American car makers are cutting jobs, delaying launches, and begging for government help. And in Washington, Trump's the one who lit the fuse. Made in America, made to fail. President Trump took the stage promising a rebirth of American cars, built with U.S. steel by U.S. workers using U.S. resources. It was a feel-good pledge, dripping with nostalgia and pride. But the reality? America wasn't ready. The mines for EV battery minerals like lithium and nickel barely exist here. Factories lack the skilled welders and machinists needed to run them. Years of offshoring and tight immigration rules have left the workforce thin. Trump's dream of self-reliance sounded great, but it was a logistical disaster. Patriotism can't mine cobalt or train electricians. Weeks in, factories stayed quiet. Equipment sat unused. Supply chain plans stalled. The promised industrial comeback became a mirage, leaving America choking on its own ambition. The factory shutdown spiral delays snowballed into chaos. Ford halted 3 plants, citing missing parts. General Motors slashed production in Ohio and Michigan. Stellantis laid off thousands. Suppliers, making seats, dashboards, wiring, folded under the pressure. Small towns like Flint and Toledo promised a revival, sank deeper into despair. Diners shut down. Family-run tool shops closed. These factories weren't just jobs. They were the heart of communities. Now, they're ghost towns. The collapse wasn't caused by foreign rivals. It was a self-inflicted wound, a bold promise with no foundation. The MAGA backlash, then came the betrayal. A Michigan welder, MAGA hat in hand, posted a viral video outside his shuttered plant, demanding, "Where's my job, Mr. President?" The Rust Belt erupted. Social media, once buzzing with Trump support, filled with photos of foreclosure notices and pink slips. These were loyal voters, factory workers, truckers, who believed in America first. Now they felt stabbed in the back, not by China or Mexico, but by the leader they trusted. Rallies turned into protests. Conservative radio wavered. Republican lawmakers in swing states started to panic. Trump's base didn't just crack, it exploded, turning his own fire against him. The energy time bomb up in Canada, Prime Minister Mark Carney played a quieter game. With one vague comment about reviewing energy exports, he sent markets into a frenzy. Canada supplies most of America's foreign oil and powers states like New York with hydropower. Suddenly, the U.S. realized how shaky its energy independence was. Gas prices spiked 70 cents in weeks. Blackouts hit the Midwest. Governors pleaded with Ottawa. Carney stayed silent, but his point was clear. Canada didn't need to act. Just hint. Consumers get crushed. Car dealerships, once buzzing with excitement, are now half-empty showrooms. New cars are too expensive for millions. Used cars? A 5-year-old sedan now costs $25,000, up from $15,000. Repairs are brutal. An alternator fix jumped from $300 to $900. Oil changes cost double. Insurance rates are soaring. Americans can't afford to buy, fix, or replace their cars. For many, owning a car, once a symbol of freedom, feels like a lost dream. Families are downsizing or ditching cars entirely, turning to ride-shares or even bikes. Japan and South Korea step. While America stumbles, Japan and South Korea are winning. Toyota's expanding in Kentucky. Hyundai and Kia are building in Georgia. They hire locals, deliver on time, and skip the drama. Buyers, tired of waiting for overpriced U.S. cars, are switching to these brands. Ironically, these foreign companies feel more American than Ford or GM, who are losing ground fast. It's not a takeover, it's a quiet victory. Is U.S. auto power gone forever? American roads once roared with Detroit's pride. Now, the world's moving on. Europe's focused on its own industries. China's dominating EVs. Japan and South Korea own the mid-market. Canada, led by Carney, has outplayed the U.S. at its own game. Plants are closing, unions are struggling, and towns are fading. Rebuilding will take years, maybe decades, of vision and global trust. But the world isn't waiting. Can America recover? Or is this the end of its auto empire? What do you think? Can the U.S. bounce back? Or is this the final lap? Share your thoughts below and subscribe to stay in the loop.